So here's a very clear example of this that I concocted. So don't blame anybody. It's a very simple example, but it's one that I think really gets at the heart of the matter. So I want you to consider a company that manufactures flat panel TVs. And it's been doing this for years now. And so let's suppose that it starts out, this company, producing flat panel TVs that require 150 hours of labor for individuals to put together the various different parts to create a single flat panel TV. And let's say that you've got to pay these laborers $50 an hour. I know this sounds unrealistic. Let me get back to it. These are numbers that I came up with to make the calculation simple. $50 an hour, 150 hours, $7,500 in labor costs alone to produce one of these things. In addition, you have to use machines that will cost you another $2,500. So it costs you about $10,000 to produce one flat panel TV. And you sell it for $15,000 because you can. That's what the market will bear. And you've made $5,000 per TV. Now, this is not that crazy a set of numbers because I remember buying a 42-inch TV when it first came out for business purposes. We were doing video conferencing at a company that I was involved in, and we paid $15,000 for a 42-inch flat panel TV. And by the way, it wasn't one of these thin little things. It was like 8 inches thick, big monster of a TV that no one person could lift by him or herself. So that's the state of the world. Okay, you're making $5,000 per TV. That's the profit. The wage earners are making $50 an hour. The market is in equilibrium. And now all of a sudden, somebody comes along and figures out a way to automate this process. Sorry, that was my my sound effects from my previous class. You learn how to automate this process to some degree. And now, instead of taking 150 hours, we figure out a way to cut it down to 20 hours. 20 hours. Okay? So let's go through the math. At 20 hours, I can actually afford to pay people more. And by the way, I'm going to have to pay them more because I'm going to be competing to get them, because other people are going to be trying to use the same technology to cut the prices of their TVs. So instead of charging or paying $50 an hour to these laborers, I'm going to charge I'm going to give them $75 an hour. I'm going to double or increase by 50% what their pay is. Big raise, all right? And I have to use a more expensive machine. That's part of the automation. So instead of paying $2,500, I'm going to pay $3,500 for the machines because I've automated it. And now, instead of charging $15,000, because my TV only cost me $5,000 to build, I'm going to actually cut my price down to $14,000. Generous me. I'm going to reduce my profit, or rather increase my profit, despite the fact that I'm cutting prices. I've cut prices by a mere $1,000, which the consumers are thrilled by. And now look at what I'm making. I'm making $9,000 in profit. Because of this technological advance, I'm paying my workers more, and I'm charging my consumers less, and I'm making more money. Everybody is happy. Everybody wins in this scenario, right? We all win. There are no losers, are there? That's not true. Who are the losers?
The workers that you're no longer hiring to make the TVs.
That's one set of losers. That's one set of losers. But I actually said something. I said I'm now paying $75 an hour to attract these workers. Where am I getting them from? I'm getting them from other companies. And so there are one set of losers, which are the companies that I'm hiring these workers from. Because guess what? They now have to pay more money for their workers. But what if they don't have the technological advances that I got? I'm benefiting from this. My consumers are benefiting from this. But the workers that I hired for $75 an hour, they may be working in fields where they don't have any technological advances. So if they have to pay their workers $75 an hour, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think those companies of those antiquated, outdated, obsolete industries that don't have the benefits of my technology, what are they going to do if they want to stay in business? They're going to raise prices. They're going to charge more for their goods. I've cut prices of flat panel TVs, but in order to hire the workers that I need, I've got to pay them more, and I'm going to pay them whatever it takes, because look at how much money I have to play with. I'm now making $9,000 a TV, whereas before I was making only $5,000. So actually, I can afford to pay my workers even more, but I don't want to do that. I'm a greedy capitalist pig. So I want to try to keep the money for myself as much as I can. But I can afford to pay them more if I need to. And that causes inflation for other commodities. Those industries that do not benefit from these technological advances are going to have to charge more because I'm forcing their workers to leave their industry to come into mine because this is where the money is. This is where the action is.